Good evening, guys. Welcome to the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League. We roll today into Lime Rock Park, a short and sharp dash around what is just a 1.49 mile racetrack. Means lap traffic and slower class cars could be the deciding factor in today's race. Stay tuned for what should be plenty of jam-packed action over 30 minutes today live on the Global SimRacing Channel. My name is Ryan Jones. Alongside me is Peter Mackay. Joe Peak is behind the scenes using the cameras provided by the fantastic Dougie Beard. And let's take a closer look at this little itty-bitty racetrack with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and... Welcome to Lime Rock Park. Located in the northwest corner of Connecticut, this unassuming little track has garnered a surprisingly passionate following. Its unique aspects create a circuit not only full of character, but consistently challenging even to modern race cars. While it has 4 different possible layouts, on the classic version, only 7 corners are split along a 1.5 mile track with just a single one of them turning left. Though simple in appearance, most drivers will tell you that trying to be fast here is anything but. The run down the front stretch into Big Bend offers pretty much the only viable passing spot, but it's a double apex right-hander which lures drivers into taking it too fast. The uphill is also scary quick considering its lack of runoff and can sometimes cause cars to get airborne over its crest. Then, on the opposite end, the downhill sends cars diving into a quick sweeper, which requires a good exit speed in order to defend or attack back into the first corner. Modern racing mostly uses the more recently built chicanes, especially at the uphill. But one of the most unusual facts about this track is that the races are never held on Sunday. Due to a legal agreement with a nearby church, events must take place on Fridays and Saturdays. The confines around this place are tight, the passing opportunities are few, and mistakes are usually punished with race-ending damage. With most other road courses now being built with upwards of 3 and 4 miles in length, this track stands out. But in an age of multi-million-dollar facilities and flashy buildings, this quaint small circuit manages to keep fans coming back with its intimate and grassroots setting.
Well, it's small, it's got 9 turns, it's 1.49 miles long. What more can you tell us, Peter?
Well, this wonderful little Lime Rock Park circuit is an absolute gem here in Connecticut. 1.5 miles, and it has been a very happy hunting ground for Porsche over the years, with 10 ALMS class wins in the past and 22 class wins in the IMSA series as well, and all different kinds of Porsche have won at this circuit. Today we have our pro drivers in the 911 GT3 Cup car, which is quite a handful in around any circuit, and also the much more friendly 718 GT4 Cayman for our AM class drivers as well. And around this very short circuit, lap traffic is certainly going to be an issue, that is for sure, as our drivers are out on track right now, setting their qualifying times for today's half-an-hour race.
Indeed they are, and that half-an-hour race is being brought to you, as always, by Sunset Mortgage. Don't put your money in the bank, be the bank. Check them out today at sunsetcash.net. Octavio Tequila. Celebrate now. For a great tasting tequila, go to octaviotequila.com and purchase today. And Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. You can check out their website at centuryretire.com. And if you like the sound of any of those and you want your company to be in that position and be involved with the Global Sim Racing Channel, well, you can. With over 1 million impressions each month, this is a great opportunity to get your brand seen by a broad, diverse audience. Just head to the link in our description to find out more about how you can be a part of the Global Sim Racing Channel. Now, let's take a look at how the championship looks after 4 rounds of action. This is our 5th round, and up at the top, it is Gregory Lafougue, an 18-point gap over Nelson Lawrence, Theodore Framheim in 3rd, the qualifying maestro, Connor Bloom back in 4th, and Matt Hollander, your top 5. starting to spread out those top 5, but a mishap and a mistake could certainly condense them right back up, Peter.
Very much could, and especially here at Lime Rock Park, one tiny mistake and you are in big, big trouble. Let's see how the GT4 standings look then. At the top of the table at the moment is Jacob Abrams on 80 points and holds a commanding lead from Paul Newton in the Peels car, the Peels Oranges car, 35 points back. Third is BJ Fulton, and fourth Alan Stad, former drag racer, and fifth Brian Swift.
So the GT4 standings right there as well. Now, why don't we have a look at our race details? The format for these races keeps it very quick, and obviously the 2 classes, as we've spoken about, as we're used to now, and everything's the same over the course of the season. 30-minute open qualifying, which means drivers are going to have to contend with that slower traffic on the racetrack as well. And then, of course, that 30-minute race to try and maintain your good qualifying or make up for a bad qualifying effort, of which drivers are on track now. There's about 7.5 minutes left in the session. And guess who but Teddy Framheim, fastest of them all by 0.4 of a second at the moment.
Yep, he's been the standout performer, has Teddy Framheim. And in the real world, Teddy, he takes his 2015 Porsche Cayman GTS to track days. He's actually an engineer from the Silicon Valley region as well. And just notice his car there, the number 106, it is resplendent in the Porsche factory livery. So he's not bothered about creating himself his own paint scheme. He's just got out there onto the track as is. In the GT4s, Jacob Abrams, championship leader, the 728, just in second position by 17 thousandths of a second from Newton in the Peels Oranges machine. Now, the thing about here at Lime Rock Park is it's a nice and short lap, which is perfect for this 30-minute qualifying session because you've got loads of opportunities to lay down quick laps. And we've seen quite a few of the drivers having a few off-track excursions so far, and that's you can
like that one. There he goes.
Actually afford to do that in this 41 wheel when he's off. Yes, sorry, I had a bit of a freeze there on my screen. It did look like it was an accident waiting to happen, but yes, you can afford to do that. Unlike when you've got 2 fast laps on a long track to set down. This is a completely different ball game, so you can really try and has somebody got off in the background there. So yeah, that was who was that? That was the Red Bull car of Michael Bolton. So we should see all of our drivers, as we've already seen already in the broadcast, putting it all on the line in qualifying, because here at Lime Rock Park, overtaking does not come easy either.
That mistake for Abrams, very easy to make, just drops 2 tyres off the outside of the racetrack through turn 8. And then I think as a result, never really got himself back onto the racetrack as he then tipped it into the final corner, no grip. And at that point, there are no saving those Porsches once they start to go around on you. Here's Ron Palmer. He's currently 11th in class. What can he do? Can he improve on the 57.502? Not on that lap. It was 2 seconds off the pace, so he's just warming up to get himself going now. In fact, looked like there might have actually been a little bit of damage on the right front as Alan Stad keeps it straight. The car behind him definitely did not keep it straight, and Stad's lap there will not be good enough.
Yeah, just a note on Ron Palmer, who was just on screen there in the 718 GT4 Cayman class. He is actually the POC president, currently retired, and actually used to race motorcycles at the professional level, and in the late 70s actually raced as a pro for American Honda, which is around the same time as the great Freddie Spencer was an American Honda rider. So got a lot of experience on 2 wheels, and he's here on 4 wheels today at Lime Rock Park.
Mark Rondeau currently sitting 13th in the GT4 class. Bayan Salehi, 3rd overall, just a 10th of a second off the back of Connor Bloom, but still a massive margin away from Teddy Framheim, who's taken the pole in that GT3 class every single race so far this season. But the races haven't exactly gone quite as smoothly for him.
No, it's certainly not been able to deliver upon that qualifying promise. As we look at Bruno Carneiro in the wonderful Manti racing machine, the Grello machine as it's known. Oh, as he goes for a bit of a pirouette coming around Big Bend, turn 1 and 2 there. Yeah, the Manti Racing, of course, just synonymous with Porsche. And we saw them out at the Nürburgring on Saturday and Sunday with their 911 machine with a fellow Aussie of yours, Ryan. Matt Campbell was at the wheel of that car.
Yeah, Matt Campbell, obviously a very talented driver in the Porsches, running in the Porsche Super Cup at the moment, I do believe. Michael Ost, what can he do at the moment? He's only a 10th, less than a 10th away from getting up inside the top 5 in GT4. That lap will not get him there, though. Michael Roban, he is up inside that top 5. In fact, he's in 3rd place. If he can improve by 2.5 tenths, he'll go to the GT4 provisional pole across the line. That is invalidated lap time for him.
Yeah, that's what can happen here on iRacing. You have some very eagle-eyed electronic race stewards who are watching on every single corner, and if you step a wheel over the track limits, you're whoa, as Michael Bolton just puts one wheel on the grass there, and round he goes on the braking zone into turn 1. But yes, the stewards, if you put one wheel over the track limit, your lap will be invalidated. The good thing about this particular circuit, Lime Rock Park, is you've not got far to go around to have another go. So exactly. It's not like at the Nürburgring or Spa or somewhere like that where you've got a long lap.
Now, the issue is, though, I don't know if those eagle-eyed stewards are really needed at this track, because if you do go off the outside, you're punishing yourself more than anything. As Bolton showed us very nicely down at turn 1 a moment ago, Framheim remains with a 52.308. If he does improve, I don't even think it will be necessary, as the GT4 fight is much, much closer. Mamea, again, looking for that improvement, and again, not going to get it. A long way off. Doug Bocchioni, he's 0.4 of a second away from his previous fastest lap. Only a minute left in the session here, so time really winding down for these drivers. Eric Oviatt, what about him? If you look at him at the moment, you'll find him 7th overall, and it's a 54 flat. That's not good enough for him. Another thing with it being such a short track, the GT3 and GT4 times aren't that far apart. Only 1.8 seconds between Jim Slavic and last car in GT3 and Paul Newton, the first GT4. Is Salehi better?
Yeah, these 911 GT3 Cup cars are really, really tricky machines to get to grips with.
Oh, no.
Sorry, that was a commentator's curse there. Sorry, Brian, that's my fault for mentioning that. But no, these cars they're very, very typical 911. The engine is right in the rear of the car. Big aerodynamics, as you can see, huge rear wing on this Manti racing machine. But no anti-lock braking system, no traction control. So they are a real handful. The end, of course, the weight balance is very different as well. But they do have one advantage. Well, one big advantage is the traction drive out of the corner. Having all that weight over the back wheels really gives them good drive grip. But around this little twisty Lime Rock Park circuit, you can't really get all that horsepower opened up. They've got nearly 500 horsepower, so there's plenty of power. But getting it put down at this Lime Rock Park circuit is really tricky. And with this being an open setup race, well, it's down to the drivers who have put in the time to set the car up properly.
Michael Robert improved. It wasn't enough to improve his position. John Mamea still hunting to get himself out of 22nd overall, 13th in the GT4 class. That's a trip through the grass. That's his time done. That's his car done, as he slams it into the barrier on the left. Eric Oviatt, currently a 53.379. That will remain his best. Half a second off on his final attempt of the session. Alan Stad, going to be one of the final drivers to put a lap time down. If he can find a 10th, he's going to improve his position. He doesn't find a 10th. He was only 100th away, though, so at least he's consistent. BJ Fulton, I don't think he actually had that lap up his sleeve. He might have actually crossed the line after the checkered flag came out anyway. 5 seconds left. Everyone has set down the gauntlet. And at the end of it all, this is how it stacks up. And this is your starting grid for the Porsche Owners Club from Lime Rock Park. Teddy Framheim will be on the pole. Connor Bloom will start to his outside. Bayern Salehi and Matt Hollander on row 2. Bruno Caniro starts from 5th ahead of Michael Bolton. Eric Oviatt and Nielsen Lawrence on row 4. Jim Slavic in 9th, our final GT3. And then Paul Newton in 10th is pole for GT4.
Continuing, our GT4 runners is Jacob Abrams and Michael Roban. In row 7 will be Doug Bocchioni and BJ Fulton. Row 8 will be Michael West and Alan Stad. Row 9 is Chad Duncan and Brian Swift in the 718. Now row 10 will be Chris Lewis and Ron Palmer.
Running out the...
Our final... Sorry, go on.
Sorry, Peter. Running out the field. Mark Rondo, John Mamea, Patrick Flanagan, and Daniel Pfefferman. How's the weather looking out there, Mr. Meteorologist Mackay?
That's something I've never been called before. So, air temperature 29 degrees centigrade, and also track temperature exactly the same. So track temperature not too bad at all. So tyre wear shouldn't be too much of a problem, and grip should be pretty good for these drivers as well. And very fittingly, we have the iRacing Porsche 911 pace car ready to take around our very colourful looking field of Porsches around this Lime Rock Park circuit. It will be a pretty short pace lap, so for our 911 GT3 runners, they've got to really try and very subtly try and get some heat into those brakes, crucially, because that run down to turn 1 is a tricky braking zone, and without the ABS you need to get a bit of heat in the brakes. However, they're quite strict about manners under the pace car here in the Porsche Owners Club, so you've got to be pretty pretty trick trying to get your heat in your brakes.
Yeah, you got to keep the car moving. It's crucial. Can't be bringing it to a stop or doing some massive undulations with your speed. So they will roll off, and we will take a look at your field from the back bumper of your pole sitter. If you want to see where your favorite driver is, no matter what we're looking at here on the broadcast, you want to take a look at the lap times as they come in. Go to gsrc.tv and you can check that out all race long. So that's currently live for all of you live timing geeks out there. Lap time is to be very interesting though, because we'll probably see some massive fluctuations when you do see guys like Framheim, Bloom, and Saleki get to the back of the GT4 class. So they will have their hands full, because if you catch them coming in to say this chicane here, you're going to have to bide your time, because this isn't really a too wide corner. They can just about do it at 60 kilometers an hour under the pace car, but still a lot of the field opting to go through their single file. And plus those little sausage curbs or turtle curbs on the inside of the apex will massively unsettle and potentially even damage the underside of your car if you get your line wrong and you slam into them. But it looks like we are coming to the start now. But iRacing.com Porsche will get out of the way. It'll take the right-hand turn down to pit road, which comes, the entry comes after the exit of the final corner. And then it will come to Framheim to lead our field to the green. Looking for the green flag from Lime Rock Park. A long wait, the green flag waves, and we are underway. Framheim, a terrible start. Bloom will lead them down into turn 1. There's contact behind. Hollander going to get turned around the middle in front of the field. Can they all get around him? No, they can't. Someone ends up in the air. Who was that who got some airtime over the front end of Hollander's car? It was BJ Fulton.
Oh, well, the Big Ben's really always a hot spot for action here at Lime Rock Park, and Matt Hollander, our series organizer, getting turned around as Framheim. Yes, Framheim and Connor Bloom side by side coming out of the chicane. But Framheim's able to defend his position from pole position. But Connor Bloom got a lot of real-world racing experience, so he's going to know this circuit really, really well from his time in GT4 competition around the United States. But they head down the Sam Posey Straight for the first time on the braking zone. Framheim waving around on the start-finish straight. He'll need to be careful with that.
Behind them, Kiniro and Oviat having a big tussle through one. Oviat had a snap of oversteer exiting the final corner, gave Kiniro a massive run down to turn one. He got to his outside. They rubbed wheels, and Oviat was able to hold on. So despite that very sluggish start for Framheim, he has been able to hold on to the lead of the race. Michael Bolton there in 6th place. He's not gained any positions, even with that spin from Hollander. Hollander had a really good start. He actually got to the middle of both Bloom and Framheim. He was taking on 3 wide, but he backed out of it. And whoever was behind him, I don't think was expecting that to be the case, and just got him into the back and turned him around in the end as they turned into the apex. So we're going to replay what we can. This is Doug Bocchioni, currently sitting in 3rd, and this is a GT4 class. That's Jacob Abrams right behind him, so Abrams has not had a good start here.
No, he hasn't, and championship leader, championship contender very much for Jacob Abrams in that red and white machine there with the very jazzy red wheels there on camera in the 728 machine. But that's the thing here at Lime Rock Park. Track position is very, very hard earned. We saw there with the GT3 runners coming down into the downhill braking zone into the chicane. Well, we saw Eric Oviat having a big lock-up on the brakes there, and we're going to see a lot of that with the GT3 runners. With the Caymans, these GT4s, they crucially have anti-lock brakes, so we're not going to see quite as much as that. And look who we have here, Matthew Hollander in that camouflage machine, a replica of his real-world Boxster race car, making his way back through the GT4 field. It's got 27 minutes to go, now a bit of a recovery drive for him.
Yeah, he's 16 seconds off the next GT3 car. That's Jim Slavic up the road. In fact, he's 6 seconds away from him, 16 seconds off the race lead. But he's, oh no, huge shunt in the background, up and onto his lid, sliding to a halt. That is a massive crash for, that looks like a GT3, judging by that rear wing. It's not a GT3, it's a GT4. Sorry, my apologies.
Chris
Lewis. What has happened here, Peter?
Well, let's have a look. This is, again, coming around the final corner. Just gets a little wiggle. There's a bit of a bump there on the apex and just gets loose. And, oh my goodness me, the punishment didn't really fit the crime there, because that was an aggressive wreck. And, yeah, if you ever want to get one of the very long list of positive attributes of sim racing, that's one of them. You wouldn't want to have that crash in real life. But, yeah, that's his day over, unfortunately. So, back to our GT3 runners, and it's Bruno Carneiro, the Brazilian, in the Manti Racing Grello machine, followed by Eric Oviat in that light blue, almost lavender-like machine, and then Michael Bolton in the Red Bull machine. I don't know which flavour of Red Bull he's advertising on that car, perhaps Red Cola, I'm not sure, but 3-car train.
It's literally called the Red Edition. It's literally called the Red Edition on the bumper, on the bonnet of that car. He had a look, but he wasn't up the inside enough, and in fact looked like he might have been struggling with some oversteer through turn 8, and as a result actually drops a few car lengths as opposed to where he was a lap ago through this part of the circuit. Update on your leaders. Framheim's pulled it out to a 2-second gap now over Connor Bloom. Talehi sat in 3rd, 3.3 seconds away from the Californian out front, who's looking to convert that pole position for, well, a rare win. Hasn't converted into race pace as often as potentially he would have liked over the first 4 rounds of the season so far, as Paul Newton is your GT4 leader after starting from the pole there. Michael Ost has done a fantastic job. He's picked up 4 spots and is currently sitting 2nd in class ahead of Doug Bocchioni back there in 3rd. So that's your podium at the moment. 25 minutes to go in the Porsche Owners Club from Lime Rock Park.
So great news for Paul Newton there in 217, because look at this, the championship leader, Jacob Abrams, he is stuck behind Alan Stad. So that is, he's up in fifth position, Newton in the lead, and Newton is next along in the championship. So this is, for Abrams, he really needs to make some moves up the field, otherwise his big championship lead is going to be eroded slightly.
Well, Abrams must have already lost this position, Peter, because I do recall he was behind Bocchioni, wasn't he, after the first lap or so, and he was challenging him. So Stad's been able to get by Abrams, and maybe Abrams' car is starting to now come back towards him, and he's then putting that pressure back on Alan. Either way, not been a good race so far for Jacob after the pace he had in qualifying put him on the outside of the GT4 front row. Grabs a bit of the curb there. That unsettled the car, cost him some momentum, and he will drop a few car lengths back. Canero, though, oh no! That's not the way you want to be facing down at, I look like, final corner. In fact, he's already lost it here because he's dropped a bunch of time, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, he was battling with Oviatt and Newton, but obviously coming down into Big Bend, you're braking, you're still turning in, and that's one thing that this 911 GT3 Cup car does.
Oviatt's hit him.
It gets collected by Oviatt. What a shame for Oviatt as well. Nothing he could have done there, really. Such a shame. But Oviatt's he's still going, and he doesn't appear to be losing time, but his car looks pretty wrecked there.
Wow.
It's been reprofiled. It kind of looks like somebody's put now I can't remember the name of the company now. Mansory, that's it. They make horrible body kits for luxury cars, and it looks like somebody's put a Mansory body kit on there. Sorry if you've got a Mansory body kit on your car. Anyway,
that's a glowing recommendation. If ever I've never heard one.
Nelson Lawrence making his way through in that black car with the white, blue and red Herbie stripe up the middle of the car there, and he's on the move in that Lawrence performance machine.
Yeah, he got by Michael Bolton down at turns 1 and 2. They almost came into contact, I think. There might have actually been a little bit. I'm super surprised that Oviatt's car is not just completely standing still on the dead line compared to those two behind him, as now having to check up to the final corner was Lawrence, and that's given Bolton the opportunity to get by him down to the main straight, trying to clear him through one. That's a pinch of the brakes and a run wide from Lawrence. He keeps it off the Red Bull, and Bolton gets the spot back. So, superb effort from Oviatt to maintain his pace. Certainly the straight line speed seems to somehow have not been affected. The engine in that car remains untouched, and potentially just struggling a little bit through some of the higher speed corners where the downforce and aerodynamics of that car have certainly taken a bit of a whack.
Yeah, this is a... Oh, and Abrams passed Alan Stad, who the long-standing sim racer. Now, I remember Alan Stad here in this grey machine, as we see. How did Abrams get by? Oh, he's already got by there. But, it must have been into turn 1 then, set up in the final corner. Good exit from Abrams. Alan Stad goes to the inside line to defend. He's going to make Abrams go round the outside, makes him go the long way round. And, just outbreaks himself, and Abrams, is there going to be a bit of paint traded? I think there was, but actually Alan Stad drives this very car in the real world, this exact same model, GT4 Club Sport MR edition. So amazing, he knows exactly what it's like in real life and in the sim as well.
Good move. Gets himself a spot back after the lackluster start, and oh no, Eric Oviatt tumbling down the timing sheets, and he's gone. He has actually retired from the session. Oh, so that's why.
I think he was battling hard. I tell you what, he was doing a really Herculean job to keep that car in front of the chasing Michael Bolton and Nelson Lawrence with all that damage. But let's see what happens here. He hits the inside curb. No, I think it's going to be the last corner which can Be very much a regular incident. Go on, what have you seen? Oh no, he gets a help from Michael Bolton.
But potentially more noteworthy, Framheim is third.
What on earth has been going on here? Well,
now he's alongside Salehi, trying to get one of those spots back, 2.5 away from Bloom. So something's happened to Framheim, potentially a spin, because there's no notable damage on his car. Gets that second position back. But now he's got work to do to chase down Connor Bloom, who's got, figuratively speaking, clean air in front of him, bar those lapped cars. So we're going to try and find the incident for Framheim. It was before this, because he's already behind Salehi here. So we wind the clock back even further. And let's see if there's a green car in front of him at this point. Yes, there is. So it's happened even before this. That means he's lost a bunch of time in a few laps ago. So we can't find that for you, unfortunately. But he is back into second, and he is flying. Gap now down to 1.9 seconds.
Yeah, we need to call it the Framheim curse, because he just shows so much speed, so superior to an already pretty high-class field here. And but don't discount Connor Bloom. He might well be able to get on the back of Connor Bloom on his lap pace, but he's got to get past him. And Connor is a professional racing driver in the real world, and well, he's here's the fly in the ointment that Terry Framheim might need. Here come the slower GT4 runners. So all of a sudden, this could throw a little bit of a get out of jail free card for Framheim, possibly. Or
Peter, those runners, they
could work in the other direction. Well, just here, and Bloom. Sorry, go on, Ryan.
They're obliged to get out of the way, but they won't particularly want to, because they're all fighting for position here.
Absolutely, yeah, they're in their own race, yeah, absolutely. And it's up to the faster cars to make their way around, but oh no, Bloom gets caught at just the wrong point, but then Framheim has to follow through as well. But yeah, the gap has eroded, it's now down to half a second. It seems like just a blink ago that you're saying it was 1.8. So it's game on then, not even at half distance yet. So whatever happened to Framheim, he's been able to recover. Now, is Bloom able to get the pick here? Oh, I think he is. Yes, it's got, perfect.
And Salehi is quietly creeping up as well on these laps cars too. So Framheim gets by, and Bloom now carries 1.2 seconds margin once more. Don't think that will stay for very long, as Salehi should get by Duncan down the straight. He will. Alan Stad next up on the card. That won't be too difficult either. He'll get him through 1, 2, or 3.
So of course, as you get through the GT4 traffic, it gets harder and harder. Next up for Connor Bloom in the Pink Pig is Abrams. Oh, Jacob Abrams, championship leader in GT4. So he's going to have absolutely no concern over the GT3 field coming through. So that's something to be managed. But Matt Hollander, he's got his way back up to 7th in class, and he's now on the back of Jim Slavic. So this is a really good recovery drive from Matt Hollander after getting in a lot of trouble on turn 1 of lap 1.
Yeah, exactly. He's recovered well, has Hollander, after that really unfortunate incident down at the first corner. Turned around by the car behind him. Damage to both ends of his car as a result, but up into 7th. Oviat and Canero both bowing out have elevated him up a few spots in his class, and he has been able to pass all of the GT4s as well. 21 seconds off of Connor Bloom. So 5 seconds worse off than the last time we checked it on him, about 5 or 6 minutes in. So he's lost a bit of time, but not too much, given the fact he's had to navigate so much traffic. That's Jim Slavic right in front of him now. And Slavic got held up by Ron Palmer, and Hollander is looking to make his way by. Through turn 3, though, there was no opportunity opening itself up. That's a poor exit for Slavic. I wonder if Hollander was brave enough to have a lunge up the chicane. No, he's not, and probably rightly so. It is not really an overtaking opportunity, as Slavic again runs wide, and this time Hollander is able to sneak to the right-hand side, to the inside. Oh, he pinched the brakes. The rear brakes actually stepped away from him a second there. gathered it up, and up to P6.
Yeah, if you're going to make a move into that into the little chicane there, you almost need a bit of a willing partner there, because it's so easy for someone to turn in on you there if they don't feel like letting you through. But Matthew Hollander played that patiently, waited for his opportunity, and then pounced. So he's up to 6th position, and next up he'll be chasing after Michael Bolton in the Red Bull machine. That sounds like a UB40 song, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you wouldn't believe it. Framheiner got the gap to under a second, and then got held up by another lapped car, and the gap has ballooned back out to over 1.5. He gets it back down again as he dives to the inside of another lapped car. Framheiner's having a really tough go of it at the moment, trying to get this gap back down to nothing. There's the space between him and a balloon that he wants. He just needs it to stay like that until he can get to that back bumper.
Yeah, well, Connor Bloom, this is maybe where his real-world racing experience is coming in handy. Of course, he drives in Michelin Pilot Challenge with actually an outfit that are very close to Lime Rock Park, Turner Motorsport, who run another German brand of car, which, it just escapes me right now, but it's not Porsche, so we'll not mention it. So, it's all coming on here, but Teddy Framheim we can't discount the fact that he has had the ultimate pace in practice qualifying and in the race. But Connor Bloom, he has been able to play the traffic perfectly, and I tell you what, that pick that he made coming into the chicane, it was almost like a basketball screen. It was amazing there, and that's what you can do if you're really, really clever with the traffic and almost a little bit lucky as well. You can really just absolutely chew up time coming through the traffic.
Don't forget, these two are only a point away from each other in the points for 3rd overall. Bloom and Framheim, that is. So there's also that up for grabs at the moment. Nielsen Lawrence, who's 2nd, is running 4th, and our championship leader in GT3 is not in the race. So big points on offer overall on a few different fronts for these guys. But further back in GT4, this is Jad Duncan and BJ Fulton. And Matt Hollander, oh, that was a bit squeezy. Rubbing panels there, the two different classes, as Hollander got by. Maybe a little bit impatient. Almost went the wrong way, had to get on the brakes. Eventually gets by Duncan.
Yeah,
and that's actually
an elbow,
really
in the guts there.
That's really held him up coming out of the corner, interestingly. And BJ Fulton got a massive run. Closed in by about 4 car lengths.
Yep, that's just the traffic, and that's the amazing thing about Lime Rock Park. It's a bit like watching a Scalextric race, because it's such a short track, but it's so technical, and it's in a lot of places it's all one line. And can you imagine that? You know that they used to, in the American Le Mans series, they used to race the Audi R10 TDI around here, which is just a scary thought indeed. But no wonder that the Porsche RS Spyder LMP2 car won here twice outright in the ALMS, beating all the LMP1 cars because of its nimble handling.
Up at the front, the gap is now back down to 1/4 second. They just got by Mark Rondo. And there's a window here for Framheim to get by without the intervention of any lap traffic. Just over 10 minutes left to go in this race. So about 9 or so laps still to play. Maybe 10 laps, depends on when they cross the line. With lap times under a minute. Really got up underneath that rear wing as they dived onto the brakes, into the chicane. Very tricky on these cars. You can't afford to trail brake. No! Connor Bloom makes the error, and he slams it into the fence. Just lost the rear coming out of 8, and that car took a hard right that could not be saved. Major damage, and straight to pit road.
Well, was it the first time basking there with Framheim, just putting him under pressure right on his gearbox there, or right on the engine in the case of this car, and that is just a typical 911 GT3 Cup car crash. It's just a little bit of the weight transfer puts one wheel on the grass. That was what happened there, and there's just no way of catching it there. The weight transfer caught him out, and wham, he's in the wall. And bearing in mind this is a pro race car driver, that just shows you how tricky these cars are to drive at this pace on the limit. If you just take one little mistake, it will just rip your head off. And yeah, there you go, he was pushing really hard, into the guardrail, and that's game over.
So Connor Bloom then, his championship takes a massive hit. He had a big opportunity to leapfrog potentially Lawrence and get very close to Lafougue out front. Unfortunately, none of that will happen right now, the way things stand. He rejoins the racetrack with a fresh car. He got the spare car out of the truck and immediately loops it down at turn 1. Cold Tyres not being kind to him there. Might have just forgotten about that in the heat of the moment. That fresh car does equal stone cold machinery.
Yeah, cold tyres, cold brakes in a car with no traction control, no ABS, that is not friendly at all. So, well, I tell you who that is good news for is Matthew Hollander, our series organisers, and Framheim, no, very much for Framheim, of course, but Matthew Hollander in the 477, the Bernie Eccleston of Porsche Owner Club Sim Racing, he's our series organiser, and look at that, he is on the timing screen on your left-hand side there. He is now getting a little bit, he's getting within range of Michael Bolton, so actually he could come away with a much bigger bag of points than he maybe would have thought after that incident in turn 1. And look at Jacob Abrams here, he is making his way up the field as well. He's now in 3rd, so getting a little bit closer to his championship rival, Paul Newton.
I don't know if that's an insult or a commendation, referring him to Bernie Eccleston. I think depending on who you ask, you might get a different answer on that. I wonder what Matthew Hollander thinks
commercially
of that.
successful. Commercially successful.
Yeah, there you go. Meanwhile, the lead in GT4. 2 of the 3 cars on your screen. Car in the middle, that's Michael Bolton. Forget about him, he's just gapped them. Paul Newton in that bright blue car is trying to fend off Michael Owens for the lead of the GT4 class. Last time by, Ost were around a 56.8. My word, what, 9/10 of a second quicker than Newton on the last lap. Absolutely reeling him in at a rate of knots. And now he is well and truly in the slipstream range. Might be a little bit too far back to make the slingshot work down into 1 and 2. But Newton's going to have to be on his toes here, and he can't afford to make a mistake. Somewhat akin to what Bloom made a couple of laps ago. Oh no, he has! He's run it wide in turn 1. It won't quite have such disastrous consequences, but that gives a massive stiff for us.
Oh, Paul Newton getting very, very loose and oversteery there as he peeled into turn 1. That was a bit of a moment there. And Michael West, he actually, you wouldn't believe this, he actually produces prosthetic limbs. That's his business. He produces artificial limbs for his patients in California. And I tell you what, he's performing well on his night off. As whoa, there's Matthew Hollander goes blowing by in the GT3 car, but that's put Newton off. Look at this. Is West going to have a look up the inside? He is into the final corner. He's got the inside line, and he'll be able to carry that all the way down into turn 1. It's a drag race down the Sam Posey Straight.
They touch. They almost turn each other around. That was so close to ultimate disaster as Ost goes too deep on the brakes. Newton comes back, he gets into him and he spins himself around. Down onto the inside, Newton loses the lead, Ost goes through, and Abrams is going to gain a spot out of all of this. And Bocchioni as well just goes by.
Yep, for Abrams, that's very, very good for his chong out of the race. And yeah, maybe a little bit over aggressive there. It's difficult if you've been leading the race for a long time, and yeah, just drives clean into the side. There was room on the inside there to actually tuck it in, and it's easy for us to say in the commentary box, but that did look a little bit over aggressive there from Newton, particularly going down the Sam Posey Straight. But yeah, he's back going again and now in 4th position.
It was touch and go, but I think the gloves have to come off in every scenario there for the lead with this little time remaining. Now, Michael Bolton and Nielsen Lawrence. Lawrence has actually got by him on this lap, down in 1 and 2, and he's climbed onto the podium. Here's the replay of how it happened. With the slipstream out of the final corner, Bolton tried to cover, but Lawrence found his way to the inside, and then Supreme on the brakes was able to take it away with the 3rd line through 1 and 2, didn't overcook it, and that is a textbook maneuver to get himself back on to the podium.
Yeah, beautiful move there from Nielsen Lawrence. Remember, he is second in the championship, and Gregory Lefug not here, of course. So, just doing a little bit of back of the packet math. So, Gregory Lefug coming into this race was on 65 points. Nielsen Lawrence was on 47, so he's going to be mighty close to getting to the top of the championship if he can finish in that third spot.
Here comes Newton trying to recover one spot from what he lost through that mistake. Bocchioni covered and then went extremely deep, and so much so that he's ended up off in the grass. Manages to lock it down before he rear ends it into the tyre bundle. But that will gift Newton that spot, and Bocchioni luckily had enough of a margin that he won't lose out to those two cars that are side by side behind him. That's Duncan. And that's Fulton, and Fulton will spin, and Duncan went with sympathy of him as well. So they both loop it, and they both found the fence. It looked like the squeeze was on coming out of the corner, and eventually they ran out of room and ended up both in the grass. And once they were in that greeny stuff, they found no grip.
Yeah, driving on grass on iRacing is a bit like driving in snow in real life. Absolutely no grip at all, and there's plenty of that grass here at Lime Rock Park. And just shut the door there, and both drivers, paying the price.
This has been a race full of attrition. I tell you what, they're dropping like flies out there at the moment. That's Duncan still having issues.
They really are. I mean, I tell you what, if it is, again, very easy to say, hard to do. If you can keep your nose clean in these races, you can almost get to the top of the field by pure attrition. And Michael Oakes, number 73, the prosthetic doctor, he is leading this race in commanding fashion now. But hopefully he'll have enough of a gap for him. 3.5 seconds from championship leader Jacob Abrams with just 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. So should be able to hang on, but stranger things have happened. But must be something about the number 73, because that number 73 is the number of Park Place Porsche, who have won here at this circuit in 2017. They won the IMSA GTD class here at Lime Rock Park. So it must be something about the 73.
I've just sat here in awe of the amount of facts you appear to have in your hand, such as knowledge about each of these drivers' occupations out in the real world. Certainly done your research on this one. Here comes Bolton and Lawrence. They're still scrapping. Lawrence doesn't need to cover too hard on that lap because Bolton wasn't quite close enough, but he was flashing a light, showing the nose, filling the mirrors, trying to force a mistake from Lawrence and add a little bit more spice to the pot. BJ Fulton is about to go a lap down more to these guys as they come up to the back of him into the chicane. Tricky spot, but on the brakes, Lawrence will get by. Bolton does not.
Yeah, great move from Nielsen Lawrence. He knew that he could get the pick there, and if he could just be a little bit, he was flashing the light furiously to let BJ Bolton know that he was there. As big move around the outside, and Bolton gets stuck. Bolton's stuck right behind that.
He turned him.
That's impolite. Oh my goodness me, that was. He just said, excuse me, out of the way. Yes, goodbye. Yep. And I think actually he was punishing him, saying, now, he's got the wrong alcohol sponsor on his car. Of course, that's the Martini logo. He should have had an Octavio's small batch tequila livery on his car. That's what you get for not supporting the series sponsor.
Meanwhile, Branheim will cross the line with 20 seconds to go. He will see the white flag one more time around from Lime Rock Park. And he's got a 15-second margin, looking to convert from what has been a 5th successive pole position from 5 attempts this season, blistering in qualifying. He's been struggling to convert in the race. He made another mistake today, but with the attrition we've seen, he will still emerge victorious if he can make it through our final half a lap. Through the chicane and up the track he rolls. Just behind him on the racetrack is our GT4 leader as well. So they'll cross the line pretty close together to record our 2 victories of our 2 classes in round 5. The Porsche owners Club Sim Racing League. It's Teddy Framheim who gets it done from Lime Rock Park. Superb drive and untouchable pace. Michael Ose, another great drive, gained spots, made overtakes, and he gets it done to take out the GT4 class.
Yeah, and crucially for Jacob Abrams, turns around what could have been a big loss in the championship into yet another gain. Jacob Abrams coming home in second place in GT4, with the long-time leader Paul Newton only getting third. Well, it just, what a race of momentum, swinging back and forward. We thought it was advantage Connor Bloom, and then all of a sudden it was back to Framheim again in GT3. It was all happening there, Ryan. What an entertaining race. And you know what? Framheim really deserves that victory because he was just the class of the field from the very first lap of practice. Thoroughly deserved for the 106 driver.
He certainly was. Let's go to a break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel as our drivers celebrate their victories, their podiums, and their personal achievements. We will come back on the other side of this with our race results and interviews from Lime Rock Park. Let's take a look at our race results then. Back on the Global Sim Racing Channel for the 5th round of the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League. Teddy Framheim gets it done by 19 seconds in the end. With Bayan Salehi coming home in second, and Nielsen Lawrence rounding out the podium. Michael Bolton and Matt Hollander were your top 5 ahead of Jim Slavic and Connor Bloom in 7th, a lap down after spinning from the lead under big pressure from Framheim. And then our podium in GT4 and running out the top 10 overall, Michael Ost, Jacob Abrams, and Paul Newton.
In 11th place was Doug Bocchioni. In 12th, BJ Fulton. 13th was the 619 of Alan Stad. 14th, Ron Palmer, former motorcycle racer. 15th, Mark Rondeau. 16th, John Lamire. 17th was the 3T4 of Chris Lewis. 18th was Jad Duncan. 19th, Michael Roban, and 20th, Eric Oviat. Rounding out the final numbers, 21st was Bruno Carnero, Brian Swift, Patrick Flanagan, and finally, Daniel Pfefferman, from what was an action-packed race here at Lime Rock Park.
Let's have a chat then to some of our performers. Let's start off with our overall race winner from pole to the win. But it wasn't quite as straightforward as that. Congratulations, Teddy Framheim.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I don't make it easy on myself, do I?
No, you certainly don't. We were saying, obviously, you've been so blistering in qualifying all season long so far, but the races don't quite seem to go to plan. We didn't catch what actually happened to you today, but we did see that you got from first down to third. What did happen?
I was pushed a little wide going through turn 2 by lap traffic, but it was ultimately... I think in retrospect, I was in a rush to get through, knowing that it wouldn't take long for the second and third place to catch up to me. But I should have left the pass until later. I went for it a little bit early, got pushed wide, had to drive through the grass.
Well, a good recovery drive from there. Talk us through the lap traffic then. Obviously, coming into Lime Rock Park, you know it's going to be a big factor, especially given there's a GT4 class in the race. Obviously, patience is probably the best way to navigate it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So my plan going in, and it's been the same actually the last couple of races, is set as close to qualifying pace as I can early on without burning the tires off, obviously, to give myself a bit of a margin just in case something goes wrong with traffic. You know, it doesn't quite line up for me as well as it lines up for the rest of the pack. So I did that, but again, I think I need more practice driving around the traffic itself, just maybe a bit more patience. I tend to make little mistakes that end up costing a lot of time.
So obviously, you got by the lap traffic, had that issue, but it worked out pretty well in the end. And then you got to Connor Bloom, and he lost it. Made it a little bit easy for you. How'd you see that mistake from your perspective?
So I knew I had a good run coming through the last two corners. My plan, I knew also that I tended to carry a bit more speed through the final corner than he did. My plan was to set him up for a pass into turn one. When I saw him catch a little bit of grass, I thought, well, okay, maybe I might even get a better run than I thought. And then it just kind of kept going around. The grass, of course, is pretty slick. Kind of a bummer that I didn't get to try and actually complete a pass, but ultimately, it was a bit of a relief, given how stressful the race had been up to that point.
Overall, though, you do get the win, you do get the points, you remain well and truly in the championship hunt, especially with Lafuga not being a part of the action today and Lawrence finishing back there in third, so got to be happy with that, and your championship prospects still look pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I'm optimistic.
Who do you want to thank for getting it done, the sponsors and people that help you get there?
Unfortunately, still no sponsors. Thank you to Matt and POC for putting these races on, to Global SimRacing Channel, of course, for broadcasting them. And thank you to my family. I know I don't make it easy on you guys, but hopefully it's fun to watch.
Hey, thank you for joining us. Congratulations for your win, and thanks for putting on a show.
Thanks, guys.
I was Teddy Framheim coming home as your overall race winner. And now Peter Mackay is standing by with our second place GT4 driver today, Jacob Abrams.
Hey guys. Jacob, hello there. Welcome to the commentary box here. That was certainly an eventful race for you, but ended up quite pleasing and also extending your championship lead. Tell us about the race from the driver's seat.
It was a little bit frustrating, honestly. I knew once I saw 4 or 5 cars pass me in turn one, when I decided to take the outside of that first corner, I knew it was going to be a long, difficult race, and I knew that it was just a matter of luck if I was able to get back on the podium at that point.
And when you were coming through the field, did you notice Paul Newton? And I suppose it's quite a brightly coloured car he's in with oranges all over it. Did you see him in the grass on your way by, or did you get that information to know where you were?
Yeah, actually, right as I was turning into that corner, I saw him in the grass, and I was kind of shocked to see him there. I'm not quite sure what happened to him, if he got hit or if it was his own mistake. But I mean, really, he should have been on the second step of the podium, not me. I was so far behind him at the beginning of the race after I got held up. So just lucky to be able to get ahead of him with, I don't know, was it 3 laps to go or something like that?
Certainly near the end anyway, but as they say, you make your own luck, and keep it on the black stuff always works. Now, while you're live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, I want to thank POC and Matt Hollander, of course, for hosting this stuff. It's been always a great time, and of course, Works 2 Motorsport. And thanks, guys.
Well, thank you for joining us, Jacob, and hopefully we'll see you here next week.
Yeah, thanks. See you around.
So Jacob Abrams gets on the podium in GT4, and winning the GT4 class was Michael Ost. Hope I'm saying that name right. Probably not, but congratulations either way. Good win.
Yeah, you got it. You got the name right. Yeah, Host.
Oh,
So yeah, no, the first time I won, me and Paul were definitely having quite a battle trying to stay, I was trying to stay clean and just let the lap traffic kind of circle through and we kept spreading apart, coming back together, spreading apart, coming back together. It's just kind of, stay steady.
yeah, a bit like a concertina effect as you catch lap traffic and then you get caught behind him. Talking to Fremheim earlier on, the lap traffic can be a bit of a nuisance, so to speak, for no fault of their own, just based on where you catch them. But you've just got to be patient, don't you, and pick your moments, because if you do be too aggressive, you can end up costing yourself more than you really need to.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I knew that if I kept running 56s, I could keep the pressure on Paul, kind of keep things interesting, and then lap traffic would come into play later. And I just didn't want to use up my tires or use up the car, and I just figured I'd stay patient, and eventually, hopefully, everything would come together.
Certainly did in the end. A good win for you. Qualifying, though, you didn't get it on the front row. Did you maximize the car in qualifying? The car was more geared towards the race, or did you leave some stuff on the table?
To be honest, this week I had a lot of work to do, and it was quite a blessing. But at the same time, I didn't really get time to sit down and play the sim and sit down and actually work on the car. I knew the track, but so I just put down a decent lap. I knew if I could be within a tenth of everybody, a tenth or 2/10, at least to get me in the race.
Yeah, exactly. And in the end, that's all that needed to be done. Who helps you get it done and walk away with that win?
Yeah, well, we had to stop Abrams. Abrams was on quite a tear this year, so we had to slow him down eventually.
Yeah, he certainly did. Who do you want to thank?
I want to thank the POC and Matt Hollander for putting this on. I really appreciate it. POC, they run some great track days, and we also run I'm the autocross chair, and so we run the autocrosses too. And between the two of them, we just, we're all about racing, and we just generally just have a really good time.
Yep. Well, having fun is what it's all about here in sim racing, 99% of the time. Good job, and go celebrate that win.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
And let's next go and have a chat to Bayan Salehi, who came home in second place today, standing by with Peter Mackay.
Ryan Salehi, a very good drive to second place overall in this eventful race at Lime Rock Park. Tell us about how it was from your chair.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, well, for starts, I apologize to Matt Hollander at the beginning of the race. I just took a quick glance at the footage, and I was kind of sandwiched between two cars, and it was just one of those really close moments. But I probably could have done a little better to avoid that. But I think we both could have done a little bit on our side. But nevertheless, I've been practicing a lot on this track, especially last week. I've been running the Formula Renault 2.0, and I think that was extremely helpful and translatable to this car, just in terms of getting the tires right and making it stick on the track.
Now, I noticed that you've grown up around Porsche Owners Club motorsport activity with your father getting involved as well, and currently running in the GT3 class in the real world. Does that real world experience of, with the 911 being such a unique car with the engine in the rear, does that experience of driving the GT3 car in the real world, does that translate over to the sim, driving this GT3 Cup car?
Yeah, so first off, shout out Bear Salehi, my dad. Yeah, we got into racing a while back, and he was racing with the POC, and I started off in the go-karts at about 8 years old, and then once I was 15, I was able to run POC, and the car that we've been running lately is a super lightweight 996 race car that's classed for GT3, and honestly, even though it's an H pattern, 6-speed, it's definitely very translatable to the new Cup cars. And actually, I mean, the new cars definitely make your life easier. But yeah, it's very translatable. Unfortunately, I haven't been getting much track time because I'm studying for the bar exam. But it's definitely helpful, and I'm pretty sure once I get that chance to go back to the track, I'm going to see a big difference. Just because I've been spending a lot of time on the sim ever since we had to quarantine and whatnot.
Oh, well, thank you very much for the insight, and importantly of all, good luck for the bar exam when it comes up. Thanks very much for coming up to join us, Brian, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Peter.
So, Brian Slahey comes home in second, and now we move across to Paul Newton. Paul coming home in 10th place overall, third in class, but probably not the result you wanted in the end.
Well, I'm happy enough with it. I know that a lot of guys had some trouble at the start, and I was glad I could get away from that and I could lead for a while and put my name up front for the first time all season. So it's third place, but it's not so bad.
Hey, look on the bright side. Exactly right. That's the attitude to take. But you were leading. You did finish third. How did that unfold? Could you have seen yourself doing things a bit differently and maybe not having that error?
I don't know. I think Michael just kind of had the pace on me today. I got out because of that crash, and then I could just see him reeling me in 10th at a time, and I could go steady at those. I could do 56.5s, but I think it was going to take about a 56.3 to be able to beat him today, and I couldn't do that consistently. So I think that was the difference today.
Well, in the end, that's why you came home on the podium, because being consistent is all you need to do at the end of a really attritional race. Who do you want to thank for helping you to bring that pace out?
Well, I want to thank the Porsche Owners Club. They put on these excellent events, and they have practice sessions all week, and I probably improved by 2 seconds over the course of the week. And I want to thank Peel's California Mandarins and Fowler Packing, and I want to thank GSRC for broadcasting these excellent races.
Thank you very much. Congratulations on picking up that podium.
Thank you.
As Paul Newton comes home in the end, third place in the GT4. Now Peter Mackay is standing by with Nielsen Lawrence.
Nielsen Lawrence, a great drive through the field in that very eventful race at Lime Rock Park today. Tell us about how you found it today.
Yeah, that was a busy race. I started near the back of the pack, which I'm not used to starting back there, and I figured I'd be patient, something I'm also not very good at or used to, and worked my way up. And I had a great battle with Eric and Michael Bolton, and brought it up home third. So counting my blessings and glad to have this thing up on the podium.
Absolutely. With Gregory Lefougue not being present today, you get very, very close to the top of the championship. Does that give you a bit of confidence for going forward and give you that little bit of extra motivation to put a few more laps of practice in the next few weeks?
Yeah, if Greg could miss event 6 through the remainder of the season, that'd be stellar. No, honestly, I don't know where Greg was at today. I've kind of crushed the top of the podium as far as second and third is concerned. Still waiting on that first place top step, but I figure if I keep being consistent, I'll be somewhere in the hunt near the end of the season and stick that Lawrence Performance Porsche up on the forefront of your guys' broadcasts.
Well, we certainly look forward to that, Nielsen, and fingers crossed we'll get to have that conversation in the next few weeks. Thanks so much for coming up to chat to us, and we'll see you next time out.
Nielsen Lawrence, third in GT3, and that is all of the interviews from the end of the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League at Lime Rock Park. What a fantastic race that was. So much attrition, so many twists and turns. In the end, Franheim and Ost walk away, our two class winners. Make sure you tune in at the same time in a fortnight's time for round 6 of the Porsche Owners Club, brought to you as always by Sunset Mortgage, Octavio Tequila, and Century Financial Consultants. Thank you to Matthew Hollander and the Porsche Owners Club for continuing to organize this series, and also the companies that provide all the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen, and also Junior Londe, who provides all of the music. Thank you to the team with me today. Joe behind the scenes with Peter, alongside in the commentary booth. You can find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, over at Global SimRacing Channel.com, or check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Gram. And if you would like to support us further, make sure you hit subscribe to that big red subscribe button over on YouTube, and you won't miss a moment. Check out the screen for some of the other races coming up over the next week or so. Check them out, mark them in your calendar. But for tonight, from all of us here in the booth, thanks for joining us, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.